tonight's meeting is about your Cert pack and specifically what goes in it. So let me give you a little introduction about what we're going to talk about, and then this is going to be as participatory as possible. So I need all of your, our expert guest tonight is you. So we want to, some concepts I wanted to just mention is let's think about how a Cert pack and a go bag are two different things. The Cert pack being what you bring when you're activated to a Cert mobilization, and your go bag being your evacuation kit from home for self and family. And I have some reference materials for that too. And then the third kit is your 2-week ready kit, which is, I guess, your stay kit, right? So we also are prepared with a lot of stuff that we have that we probably wouldn't take 2 weeks worth of water with us if we run out of the house in the fires coming, but so there might be a different level of material for that. Other things that might not be in your Cert bag are the Cert provided items. So we have bases, right? And we have the Cert vehicle or whatever that will become, probably a trailer, which is why if you got the downloads beforehand, you saw that the Cert vehicle has a lot of stuff in it, including radios and printers and blankets and cots and tent, well, not cots, but tent pop-ups and so forth. Finally, we have the ability to order additional resources. So once Cert is up and running and we're plugged in to the larger system, which might be the fire department or emergency operations center, there are procedures for requesting things and getting them, and that's what one of the jobs of our logistics person. So that's the overview, and what I'd like to do is pop up our current required PPE list, and let's take a look at that. And I'd like to get some feedback on what items you think should or should not be in that list. So I'm going to pop up that list right now. I'll make that. Let's see. How do I do this? And is that readable for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, nodding. Good. Okay. So these are the items. It's called the PPE page. It's not all PPE. And if you've been around Cert for a little while, I think all of these would be expected let's see, how many people have done some Cert activation of some kind before? Of some event. Okay, great. Let's try everybody. And did you bring a whistle? Yeah. All right. Did you bring a wrench? How many people brought a wrench to the last activation? Okay, all right. A few people did. All right. Well, we're supposed to, so nothing wrong with that. So, is there anything on this list that someone would like to object to as far as our minimum required things, or or even just ask a question about? Any questions about this list? Okay, let's be a short meeting.
I'd like to.
Paul, I just got
sorry.
Comment. Sorry.
Daniel, go ahead.
Sorry, Doug. Yeah, just clothing is an interesting item that, one, it tends to fill up the bag, and two, it's remembering to change it seasonally. That what I put in there last summer is probably not appropriate now, and vice versa. And I also have, regarding a utility shutoff wrench, those tend to be rather heavy tools. I don't know if I'm going to start carrying that around in my pack. But
yeah, that's a good point. In fact, weight is something I definitely want to talk about. I came up with my own compromise, which is I got some channel locks, which serve maybe not as ideal, but certainly they're fairly light. Doug, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just to underscore the utility of a headlamp over a flashlight. A flashlight, by necessity, requires a hand. These are things we only have two of, and it's lovely to have a good headlamp.
Maybe we should just say headlamp. It's not hard to get.
We could drag this list kicking and screaming into the 2000s, couldn't we?
That's right. Good. That's a good suggestion. And I think too, getting back to Daniel's comment on the food, how much food? Like for we try to tell you how long an activation is going to be. You know, your shift will be 6 hours. So, but maybe, or maybe we just leave that flexible. Like we have to be prepared, as I feel John right now is thinking, like it depends on the situation, right? So depending on the situation, we may not want to specify how much food you bring in, leave that open. Okay. Other comments about this list? Harold.
Yeah, I have a comment as far as food. I usually keep a number of granola bars in my pack. And also what really works for me, and that's based on my experience in backpacking, I go to the market and I get a dry salami. And it will last for months. You can easily replace it. It is protein, it gives you energy, and it's not the lightest in the world, but you can share it with your compadres if they want, and that'll make it lighter. But it works for me. It may not work for everybody else, but as far as food goes, it's something that will last a long time. And I just keep it in my pack no matter what. So that's my suggestion.
There's also delicious jerky for sale these days. It can be a little spendy, but if you look around, there's stuff without preservatives and so forth.
How many
I
people
used to be a salami dude. I sort of converted.
How many people have had a raccoon?
Salami with the your channel lock. So
salami with your channel locks. Cool. How many people have had a raccoon cut a hole in their Cert pack to get at a Cliff Bar? Just me? Okay. I have a new Serp pack now. So other comments on this list? Harold, Richard.
Yeah. What about colored tape or tape to, for triage purposes? Is that beyond what this is?
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, I think so. Well, that gets into mission specific things like hopefully most of the time we won't be triaging. And yet it's a nice recommended item. So let's hold that off as maybe an optional item. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have several items in my Cert pack that are not mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That starts with adhesive tape. Instead of a regular flashlight, one of the ones that you wind up and crank so the batteries don't die while they're sitting there for 4 years. Knee pads are useful. Toilet paper is useful.
Mm-hmm.
A compass and maps are useful. And a water bottle. All those are on my list. And actually in the Cert pack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Other comments? John Frank, I see you raised your digital hand.
Yeah, on the same line where we were talking about the colored tape. I know in my bag I have some sidewalk chalk, which comes in different colors. So if you had to mark the outside of a building that you had searched it, that works very well. It lasts forever. You can put it in a Ziploc bag, so you don't have to worry about it getting chalk all over the other things in your bag. They have it over at Ace Hardware in that stationery department.
We went to a retreat. I've only been in Cert for 2 years, but shortly after I joined, we had a retreat out at Camp Latgawa, and we did a lot of different trainings and stuff. And one of them was what's in your pack. And Scott Scott Rayburn was the presenter for that meeting, and he brought his search and rescue pack, which is a little different than a cert pack.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he showed us, he pulled things out of his pack and showed us why they were really important to have. And the most amazing thing that he showed me that I always show other people, even not in cert, is this, which is an old outdated credit card
Yeah.
with this is about 15 feet of duct tape wrapped around it.
Yeah.
Because when I saw duct tape on the list, I was like, wait, I've already got all this other crap in this bag, and now I'm supposed to cram this giant roll of duct tape in there too? Like,
Yeah.
that is never going to work for me, right? I am not carrying that thing around. But when he showed me this, it was like a miracle. I mean, that is a lot. And so I made a whole bunch of these. I found a bunch of old cards I had. Some of them weren't even credit cards. They were just like membership cards to things I don't even care about. And so I just made a whole bunch of them. I have like 2 or 3 of them in that pack and one in another pack, and I've given them away to people because this is like a miracle. So that is my best offering, and I'm giving credit to Scott because he's the one that showed it to us. It was not my idea, but it's very small and very light, and you could like wrap as much as you want on there.
Yeah.
So
similarly, the tape that we're supposed to use for different colors for different.
Oh yeah, I still haven't gotten that.
Yeah.
Well, you get that at the I think it's Medford Builders Exchange. It's no, it's a landscape supply place. You get that at a landscape supply place, and there's a place in Medford, but I still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, I have rolls of the stuff, but I don't want to take the whole roll because there's hundreds of feet on a roll.
Well, yeah, but it's on a roll about this big, right? I mean, it's not a big roll. It shouldn't be a very big roll.
Yeah.
The ones that we had at the training that people had on their belts, they put them on a belt. They were not that, I mean, they weren't huge like a big roll of masking tape or something. They were smaller rolls than that.
Yeah.
And they just had them on their belt, and then they could pull off pieces of it and tear it and wrap it around somebody's arm or something. Or neck. So I still don't have that. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, the thing that was in the meeting invitation is how to keep your pack from weighing more than your refrigerator.
Well, I don't think that's possible. Especially since I got my ham radio thing. This is all my ham radio stuff except for my mag mount antenna, like some long antennas I have, but all my radio parts are in this, but that alone weighs like, it's pretty heavy just because it's packed solid with.
I believe it. Yeah.
So, but I feel like if I have a ham radio, that would be important to carry with me. I don't think I should leave it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's the sort of things that you'll have in the trunk of your car versus what you're going to carry with you when you're out actually.
Yeah, and I think a ham radio would be like one of the things I should have with me. So, but there's so many of those things. I see here, I did find when I was up in Medford one day, because I never did get these plasticized local maps because I'm a real map person. And in addition to our GPSing stuff, we're supposed to have maps that we can, that won't get damaged in the rain and all that. And I saw these on some, at the checkout counter on something. And I was like, oh, that's what I need.
We need that.
So, yeah, one of them is Ashland, the Ashland Medford area. Sure. And the other is the whole state of Oregon, because they said we should have a map of Oregon because we might be communicating with places that are not local. And so we would need to know where those things are. So if you see those somewhere, that's a good thing to get. And I put my name on them so they wouldn't walk away too fast. So, and that's not heavy. So that's an easy thing. And they're not expensive. So that's easy to put in there. So anybody else have show and tell? No?
Not right now. I was coming here to absorb.
We're all supposed to have this kind of tool, right?
Yeah.
That turns off the gas and everything and all those other things. Yeah. And this is a lightweight one that you can get at the emergency supply sites online. So it looks heavy, but it's not.
So, but the question is to you, all of you, is should we change this list at all? And Tabitha, go ahead. Or did you raise your hand? Go ahead.
I did. In these days and ages with the technology, perhaps having a spare charger or a solar charger for one's phones and electronic devices wouldn't be a bad idea.
All right. You consider that an optional item for minimal cert pack? And here's the thing. Some of us here did some canvassing during the summer with the new evacuation zones, and I brought like a minimal cert pack and discovered we have hills. So I found it, like, even though I cut it down to only some water and a small first aid kit and my clipboard, that was still felt like a lot to carry around. So I'm really thinking about trying to say, trying to figure out for ourselves, like, what really works to have on your back at all times. And is there some way we can work it out so that we have what we need, but are not crushed under the weight of it, which as I alluded to in the announcement. Barb.
Well, and it seems, Paul, that it really depends on the deployment in terms of what.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We can't really predict what we're going to need in every situation. And so this is supposed to be, like, I assume, sort of a generic, most likely, things that, like, if there's an earthquake, if there's a evacuation, if there's a bad storm and the trees are knocked down and power's out, or like sort of all the things that, I mean, how would we know? How would we know what was necessary for us?
Right. Well,
you have a closet full of cert packs.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Harold.
Yeah, along those lines, my cert pack is very heavy. I put about everything on the list in it, and I can barely carry it. So what I'm planning to do is create some auxiliary packs, a duffel bag with some clothes that, depending on the mission, if it's hot, if it's cold, I can take out a windbreak, or I can take out a heavier jacket, put on a lighter cert shirt, a duffel bag with some tools, and my food and my water, and depending upon what's going on, I can carry that in my truck to the base, and then I can assemble a lightweight pack based on what the mission is at the time. But I'll have all that stuff with me if I need to.
I don't think we should assume we're going to be able to get our cars to where we want to go. In an earthquake, you might not be able to hardly get anywhere, depending on, we don't know. So, I thought about putting all kinds of stuff in my car and leaving it there most of the time, but that wouldn't necessarily get the stuff to where I need to get it to, like my base, which is about a mile.
Right.
From
well,
here.
So we still have the minimum pack, which is this list. And then I like Harold's idea of a duffel bag or something in a car. And my thought about that too is like, well, I've got my bike and it has additional capacity. So that's my plan. If the car doesn't work, everything goes in the bike. John Frank.
Yeah, there was a comment made about taking a power source, and I have one in my bag which can be plugged in. Your phone can be plugged into it or anything. It's got USB connections and so forth, and it's also rechargeable off the sun. So you could put it on the top of your car or something during the day if you have used it at night and you don't have another means for charging your devices. I know it's on the list about headlamps, and I have one for my Cert helmet. I've got my bag here next to me, but I found it was also helpful if you use like some Velcro straps on the side of your helmet to hold that strap in place so it doesn't pop up. And I have a regular handheld flashlight in addition, because you need extra batteries, because this kind of a headlamp, the batteries eventually will go down after probably 8 to 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Batteries.
Yeah, good. Hang on, Richard. I think Doug was next. No. Okay, Richard, go ahead. And I think I skipped somebody. Raise your hand again if I did.
I'm kind of a newbie, so my pack was kind I had rope in it. I just wanted to second Harold's comment, and I think what I will do now is really go through and think about weight and lightening it. Anything that I can find at a lighter equivalent, and then have whether it's in a box or a duffel bag or whatever, everything I might want to add depending on what I'm going out for. So I have all that stuff, and if I'm going out, I can then add to the bag with triage stuff if I feel I need that, or indeed my rope. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Great.
Yeah.
Doug.
An approach that I have used for many years with caving, I think would apply really great for here. I have a duffel bag with all the stuff that I might possibly take on a regular caving trip. I don't mean an expedition. I mean a normal trip. And this would be analogous to a Cert call out. Could it be a short one or a long one? And then inside of that, I have my rucksack, my caving sack that I take on my bag, and it's within reach of me at all times when I'm in the cave. The analogy here would be, it goes on every Cert trip. So what's cool about that is if I'm going on a Cert and I'm getting in a car, I would just bring the whole duffel and I've got my whole kit. I can add to what I carry on my back if I want. But all things are kind of co-located. To me, this has the best of both worlds of having a minimum bag and being able to add to it.
Love it. I see a lot of nodding on that one.
If you're a caver, I bet you have a rope.
That's good. Cool. Any other comments on this? Oh, that Bart. And by the way, John, before I wanted to say, nice job on the show and tell. That was excellent.
The other thing that Scott Rayburn showed me, besides what I showed to the 6 people that were on my meeting, which was the 15 feet of duct tape wrapped around an old credit card, so you don't have to bring a whole roll of it. You could have a bunch of those and have a lot of tape. The other thing he showed me, because I couldn't figure out how you're supposed to carry this rope with you, is that you carry parachute line because it's lighter but just as strong. So this is like, what is it? Paracord, 100 feet, 30 meters. And there's sort of a 550. That's I think the strength or something. Anyway, so that helps.
Be sure to get the braided kind or something that the old-fashioned parachute cord is kern mantle. It has an inner bit, and if you don't burn one from the other, it doesn't work very well. If you're out in the field, it frazzles. That stuff that you have, Barb, and stuff like it is probably much better. It's called generically, it's utility cord or something like that. Is it? Can someone correct me on that?
At one of our trainings, someone had me make this. I'm not even sure what you call this cord, but it's that small. It's a long. You're supposed to wear it on your wrist. I'm not wearing it on my wrist. I've just got it with my Go stuff.
So, Paul?
Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
I think, and this has kind of been reiterated, Doug said it in one way, but I think there's a difference between having our Cert deployment bag and our Go bag and our long-term Go bag, all of which are appropriate if we have a call out or a self-deployment because of the big one or something of that sort. We're going to, take your Cert bag and take the duffel bag that you can survive for 3 or 4 days or a week or whatever it is. I say that, and I don't have all of those bags together, but it certainly makes sense. On the other hand, the Cert bag is the minimal things. I don't even know if you need a shutoff wrench if you're going to talk to people about evacuation plans. But definitely food and water is an essential no matter where you go. Having sun protection, which probably should be in here as well, a hat. I guess we have our helmets. But little things like that, I can survive on a 6 or an 8 hour shift when I'm, resources are not provided to me. I have what I need versus what do I need to survive for a day or a week.
Well, that's a good comment, because I have frequently wondered when I'm asking people to come out and do some canvassing or I don't know, sandbagging, okay, we've got this list. You're required to bring all this stuff. Am I going to make sure everybody brings all this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems unreasonable to say you can't play unless you have your wrench. So I don't really have an answer to that. I kind of like to, get feedback and input on it, and maybe the leadership folks will make a determination. But that's a question I have. I think next is John Frank.
I just wanted to mention for anyone having trouble finding first aid items and a lot of the other items that have been discussed already, that Army Navy store that's up on Crater Lake Avenue in Central Point, it's 5100, has really a paramedic supply area. It has pretty much everything you need for camping. Also, emergency supplies, you name it, they seem to have it. So if you've never been there, you might want to check it out.
Great. Thanks. Harold?
I have a number of things to share. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Tell you what, why don't I bring up the optional list instead of this list? I'll switch over to it here.
Okay.
And then
Anyway.
that's probably more fitting with what things you're going to talk about anyway.
I bought this at Fred Meyer. It's a solar phone charger. You can charge a phone completely twice from absolute dead, and then it'll recharge itself. Next thing I have is Pliers. It's a multi-plier. It's made by Gerber. It's very compact. You can put it in your pocket. I have a hasty bag. This is made by Camelback, and I actually use it for hiking, but it has all the essentials. If I had a quick deployment, I can put clothes in it, has water, food, a little bit of first aid. And finally, as Barb said, if we can't get to the base because all the roads are broken, if there's an earthquake, I'm going to use my ATV. It has a compartment on the back where I can store all of my stuff. It's all-wheel drive. I can go just about anywhere with it, and I could easily be deployed with that ATV any place in Ashland at a moment's notice. So that's my solution.
Very cool.
Nice shirt, Doug.
What do you got there, John?
You were talking about utility wrenches. You can get different ones, but this particular one, you can open MREs with it in addition to shutting off gas lines and things like that. It's very light. It's aircraft aluminum. And anyway, just kind of showing people what we're talking about with some of these.
Where did you get that? Where did you get the wrench?
This one, I think I got it at an Ace Hardware store.
Oh,
I
great.
think they have it at, here in Ashland. Some of them aren't going to have the hammer part and the pick part, but they will all have these notches in them for turning off gas lines.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
when
you.
I asked at Ashland Hardware a year or two ago, they didn't even have them to order. So I got it through the emergencykit.com website, which makes all kinds of sells all kinds of, I don't like to buy stuff online. I always go local first, but I didn't find it locally. So I got that and some other things that I couldn't find locally, like my bag, from this emergencykits.com, I think it's called. And I also got a nice medical bag with all kinds of stuff already in it that I would have had to buy separately. So I picked out what things I wanted to have them put in the bag to some extent. And then, I like it because it's compact. And because if I tried to make this in my own, like get a bag myself, I don't think I'd find one this small with all the pockets that it has to separate stuff in it. So I really like this one, but I'm sure there's 1,000 places online you can get emergency supplies. I looked at a lot and I found this one that I really like. And then I added some things to it.
I've seen that at REI, I think, that one.
Well, I looked at it. Yeah, they do have this brand, but they don't have this kit. I tried to get it through REI and they wouldn't even order it. It's the same company that they do have stuff by this company, but they didn't have this particular kit. And I liked it because this all unfolds. And
Yeah.
so you have all these little places where you can put, okay, Band-Aids are here and medicine is here and yada, yada, yada. And it had a little room for me to add my own stuff to it too. So, but it is that the company that makes the kit is Medical Kit Mountains, or Medical Kit is the name of Adventure Medical Kits. That's the name of the company that makes these things. And they have all different kinds of bags and all different kinds of supplies you can buy. And so I looked at all of them online and I decided this was the one I wanted. So,
okay. I think Doug raised his hand like 20 minutes ago.
Chris, this is a question that you might have the answer to, or perhaps anyone else. One nice thing about the shutoff wrenches is they appear to be designed to not throw sparks by, putting one metal against another. I don't think that is the case with channel locks or vice grips. Can anyone give us a succinct answer on that as to whether are channel locks a potential safety issue if there's a gas leak present?
Let me comment on that.
Chris, go
I
ahead.
don't think
Oh, sorry.
the purchase you need with pliers or hand tools like that. You need something with a pretty long handle on it, because turning off those gas lines takes more power than you could exert with pliers.
Yeah, some do, some don't. I remember a story from the original Map Your Neighborhood training way back when Lucy Edwards was here, of a woman who responded to turn off her gas line after an earthquake up in the Seattle area, and ended up breaking her arm trying to turn off the gas. So you don't want to you don't want to be the incident within the incident when something already bad is happening. But I wouldn't see particular issues with sparks when you're putting a wrench on something like that. I've stared at mine a few times and thought about how to turn it off, and it's pretty simple piece of machinery. You just get a wrench on it, and if it will turn and you're strong enough, you can get it to turn. But I would say if it's not wanting to budge, then you need a little bit more force and some leverage on it, which I still don't think would cause a spark. If the gas line is leaking at the gas valve,
you don't want to be there anyway.
You don't want to, you don't really probably want to be there. It's mostly where the foundation encounters the gas line, where if there's a foundation break and then it breaks the gas line, or internal to the house, like a water heater. Really good reason to have your water heater strapped to the wall, which is actually a requirement for all new construction. But if yours isn't, make sure it is, because your water heater falls over. If it's gas, it's going to tear the gas line when it does. And then you've got, perhaps if it's winter heating season, an open flame in your pilot light and gas shooting out all over your closet, which is not going to end up well. So yeah, it's still a really good idea to get those shut off outside if safe to do so. And if it's not impossible to get those things to turn. I wouldn't recommend go out there and trying to turn it and then turn your gas off and then having to relight your pilot lights, because that's an issue in and of itself. So if you have questions about it, talk to the gas company. Although with the gas mistake that happened in Ashland a couple of years ago, when our gas got shut off, remember that? And they had to come back and relight all of our pilot lights. I think maybe some of our valves got loosened a little bit as they were going through all that, but so maybe that was a good thing in the end.
Thank you, Chris and John, for those answers. I'll put them in the minutes. And thank you.
Okay, got a bunch of we got a line here. Richard, you were next. Do you have anything?
Oh, I just realized that I got this from Knowles Outdoor Leadership, because I took the wild wilderness medical training, and then I just noticed that it's Adventures Medical Kits makes it for them, and that's the one that Barb was referring to. Yeah, and it's great. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. It's really small.
Okay.
That's a
Harold,
great website too. Just the
Yeah.
Knoll website is terrific.
Go ahead, Harold.
With regard to when Barb was talking about a rope, what search and rescue does, we have 100, 200, and 300-foot ropes. We put them in a stuff bag. And when you stuff them in, it kind of layers on top of each other. And then when you pull it out, it's not tangled. So she had a coil of rope, and if she had to use it and then put it back in her pack, it would probably be hopelessly tangled. So if you get a small miniature stuff bag, either from REI or Amazon or even Home Depot, they have little bags for tools, then it'll be much more organized in your pack.
Okay. Barb, do you want to respond? You have your hand up.
It wasn't about that. It was about the gas turnoff. I can't remember for sure. I think it was one of the plumbers that's done work on my house when I was talking about emergency turning off, possibly having to turn off the gas. I think it was a plumber, so they do gas stuff. That's why he was here, I think. And he said, or someone said, that whose opinion I respected, put a little hook or nail or something out there right by your gas shut off, like for your own house. Put something to hang, and then put it like a little adjustable crescent wrench or something out there, and it'll be there. Because if for the average person, like we are trying to have all of our stuff together, right? But for people's own homes, they're not going to be able to find the right tool to turn it off, if there's an emergency. So his suggestion was to actually hang a little wrench out there that would fit the thing to turn it off, and it's there. So he didn't say anything about it sparking or anything like that. I don't know. I'm assuming he knows that would be a possibility if he's a plumber.
That sounds good. And we're assuming he's not just trying to get a bunch of free wrenches. Daniel. Do you have a comment?
I do, but I got to figure out how to unmute the thing because the Alt-A didn't work. Yeah, we're a little far afield here from the go bag, and we're carrying a wrench in our go bag to turn off gas. I think we need to be very cognizant of not going and turning off everybody's gas because we think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
As Chris just mentioned, you turn it off, then you got to get the gas company to come back and turn it back on again. So I don't know what the policy is within Cert, if there's a deployment or if we're self-deployed about running around the neighborhood and shutting down people's gas.
I should probably defer to Chris, but I'll tell you what I think. I know, which is we have always said that if you smell gas at a place you think there's a gas risk, then that's the time to shut off the gas and not before. And in fact, occasionally I run across things that say you should shut off your gas after an earthquake, and I'm careful to cross those out. I reused one for Map Your Neighborhood, and I edited it and took that part out and made sure that Avista agrees, and they do. That on Avista's website, they say, shut off the gas if there's a problem, if you suspect a leak. So yeah, Avista, we don't go around shutting off gases.
Avista did say to shut off if there's a quake?
No, they just said no. They said it said an emergency, if you suspect, you should shut off the gas only if you suspect there's a leak. So before I felt better after editing that other document and taking that out when I read that Avista did agree with what we've said all along. So yeah, anybody want to add anything to that? Howard.
Did you mean Harold?
I mean Harold.
Yeah, I have a cousin named Howard, so don't get us mixed up. Anyways, I've always been told, besides smelling the gas, because you can't always smell it because it might be broken in a wall, if you can get to a gas meter and look at the dials on the gas meter, and if they're spinning wildly, then that's the time to shut it off because you know there's a leak somewhere.
Good point. Okay, so as Daniel mentioned, we were going afield, which is great because this is a simple one-topic meeting tonight, and we've we wanted to talk a little bit about see if there's any other suggested items that we should add or remove from this list. So let me pull that up again.
I broadened one of the items on the list, Paul, in the minutes to say communication device, parentheses, telephone, radio, as appropriate.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, so that's
I've got one more strange one to add. When I went through the training, it was suggested that we carry a 2-foot crowbar with us. That was for search and rescue work, apparently.
Okay. I have a like a 18-inch bar that's a little bit of a crowbar like that. It's fairly light, and I actually do put that in my pack. So there's versions of that.
Mine fits in my Cert pack on diagonal. It's no problem at all.
Of course, we have the big long 6-foot wedges at the bases. We have those at the bases for real
that's
work.
not practical for our
right. No, I don't think anybody's going to carry that around.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't see was some toilet paper. Seems to me like that's a very fundamental thing that you should have in your pack.
Yeah. Good one. Right. It's interesting that going back to the radios, communication devices, this one says FRS radios. We know that FRS radios are useful but in a very limited way. Obviously, we don't expect everybody to get a ham license, although if you do, then you're going to be carrying your good ham radio. But there are some other options that are worth looking into, and the Cert radio group can advise you on that if you need advice. Okay, Jeffrey, I see your hand up. Why don't you go ahead?
That toilet paper suggestion reminded me that I was looking at my pack, and I'm not so sure how waterproof my pack is. So I imagine being out there in the torrential downpour or something. So I've been trying to put some of my items in plastic double Ziploc bags inside my pack. And also people mention solar charge battery sources, and you can get, probably a lot of you have these already, but they have these really cool little dry bags for phones, and they work good for power sources too. I have a power source inside of here that's a Z Gear one, and it'll fit an iPhone or a power source. So that's a good product that you can get. And while I'm at it, I got a solar powered charger over at Connecting Point it's good for 9 phone charges. And it also has a flashlight in the end of it that'll do flashing or solid stream. And it has a little compass on the back side of it. So it's kind of a handy little one. They had that one over at Connecting Point in Medford.
Right. That reminds me, before I get back to John, is that one of the things I've got in my car is one of those Insta jump start units that they carry more than most of these little phone chargers, but they do have USB on them, so that's also another source of power.
Is that for your car, Paul?
It's a car. It's got a little clip one, so I've done it. It's worked like half the time. Like if your battery's not totally dead, if you've got anything at all, you can clip it to your battery and then it'll give you a jump start. It's a very nice thing to have.
Before I got my hybrid car, I had one of those and I used it several times from a dead battery, and it worked totally fine on the car. And it also came with all the connectors for different smartphones and a USB connector. So you could use it for all different kinds of things. I can't use it on my car now because it's got doesn't have that kind of battery.
So what was the brand of that, Barb?
I don't remember. It was on sale years ago at Shop and Cart. It must have fallen off a truck or something, because when they sold them out, they never got them back again. But I'm sure there's other brands out now. Then I gave that to my daughter after I couldn't use it anymore.
I'm sure it's at Costco, and you guys know the wire cutter, which is now run by the New York Times. But the wire cutter, that's exactly the kind of thing that they test 30 of those and make recommendations. And so even if you don't want to buy it online, you could still get ideas there. Okay, John, you've been waiting for a while. You want to go ahead?
I was just going to comment, if you have your Cert helmet inside your Cert bag like I do, a roll of toilet paper fits inside the helmet very nicely, and then you'll always have it with you. In fact, if there's a real emergency, you may need it at the top of your pack.
In cold weather, it also helps to have a heavy-duty black trash bag folded over to sort of a small beanie size. Pop that in the helmet as well. It's insulation, and it's 101 uses.
Nice. Tabitha.
Doug took one of my suggestions. But yeah, with regards to the waterproofing, having just a rolled up wad of gallon Ziploc bags and a couple of trash bags. I mean, trash bags can be used for a number of things, like people who are out in the rain without rain gear. You pop holes in the trash bag and you put it over them. At least their core is a little dry.
Right. Also good at plays in the Elizabethan.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a comment? Okay. Any problems with this? We've gotten a number of additional suggestions, which I think we'll keep track of and maybe expand this a little bit. Any questions about items in this list? Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering about the possibility of using hydrogen peroxide instead of bleach. I don't know what the bleach necessarily is used for, but it's pretty caustic stuff.
For sterilizing water, for making it drinkable.
Right, which is redundant here. Is bleach on there? Because I see water purification is on here too.
The first aid kit recommendation, 10% household bleach.
In basic training, we say that you use bleach diluted in water to sterilize your gloves, as if you have to reuse your gloves. So, so I think as a water treatment, that's what it's for that I know of.
I believe bleach is a much stronger disinfectant than hydrogen peroxide for surfaces and instruments and gloves, and in case of an emergency, I would just use the bleach. It's a known and proven disinfectant.
And probably wear some gloves when you're doing it, right? So yeah. Great. Okay. Other comments on these items? I see a number of things here that were mentioned earlier, like the lumber crayon and the flagging tape.
Somewhere on one of those lists, they have something that I got when I was at the Army Navy store, but then I found out later they actually have it at Ace Hardware, which is a pad that you can write on in the rain in water, and a pen that writes in water. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't that much, and it's not a big pad, but if it's raining, I guess it would be important to have things to write on. So okay. That.
With that, I will once again mention this field guide, which I think would be a good thing to have. It's a lot smaller than your Cert participant guide, and it has pretty much all the information that's in it, and a little section for your writing stuff. It's a Write in the Rain as well.
So where did you say, I know when you showed it some other meeting, you said where to get it, but is that at all the Cert emergency supply places online, or FEMA, or where do we get it? I
think I got it from like an office supply website.
Okay.
Or if so look around but Write in the Rain is a brand. And so you have to find the official one anyway. And do they have God, they don't even put a web page. Oh yes, writeintherain.com. So you could start there for sure. and maybe find better deals other places. Mine has my radio, my radio flip guide at the back with our frequencies and certain information which is out of date. Okay, Harold, go ahead.
On behalf of the Cert radio group, I wanted to mention that I have a radio go bag with spare batteries, a little flashlight, spare antennas, little rubber duck, quarter wave, J-pole, the manual for the radio, et cetera, and that is separate from my Cert pack. So again, it's an auxiliary thing, so that if we have a call, I'll just grab my Cert pack and the radio bag and take whatever I need out of it and make one small pack, and I'll deploy with that. But at least I'll have all that stuff with me.
I just thought of something too. Here's my big charger, my phone. This isn't the car one. This is my regular phone one that can it does a little bit more for iPads and laptops. And it's important to look at the capacity in milliamp hours is what they're usually rated in. So when you're comparing them, be sure to check the milliamp hours of devices, as that's really how much it's going to charge up. And don't believe anything they say about how many times it'll charge up an iPhone, but look at milliamp hours for sure. Okay, Barb.
Somebody, when we were just talking in general about different radios and stuff, I do have this is all my radio stuff except for the longer antennas, but everything else is in there, which is a little, this is a little camera bag that I found at Best Buy. But Paul was the person that put me onto Wirecutter when I asked him at some meeting. We were talking about our packs, and people were saying, "Oh, you should have a hand crank radio and Noah with Noah, you know, all that stuff on it." And so I said, "Well, there's a zillion of those out there. How should I choose?" And he sent me to Wirecutter, where they had a list of all different emergency supplies, and they had tested all these different ones. So that's where I got my hand crank radio, which I've actually pulled out a few times when we have had weather that I thought was possibly problematic, so that I could get on the NOAA frequency on that. So I think because I see portable radio with additional batteries, hand crank recommended, is on the Ready Pack thing here. So that's where I picked my radio from, was Wirecutter.
Nice, thanks. Holly, do you have a comment?
Yeah, for those of us that aren't in the radio club and don't have the bag of radios, I just put the radio protocol from like our meeting. I know you can't see it on my clipboard, but I just put the radio protocol like on my clipboard, just like notes, just like very, sorry, you can't see the writing, but this like very general, because I can never remember, especially if you're activated and it's like, do I say me first or them first? You know, so like, so yeah, I just have that right on my clipboard written on there to use that as my prompt, and, you know, to actually, you know, get the right order of things and stuff like that. So just right on the clipboard. So that's hopefully what you're using if you're trying to take notes and calling in and whatnot.
Thank you, Holly. And speaking of clipboards, I want to put in a plug for the clipboard form container. This is the plastic one. There's metal ones too, which might be more rugged, but this is held up so far. Even has a little compartment for your writing instruments. And I keep, because I'm into the forms, I've got a table of contents. You can see I've got, and I use the numbering system to keep them in order. So if you need to sign in or get out supplies or plan response or do a safe and well registration card, I'm hopefully ready.
That's how you do it. All is revealed.
That's what's happening. Doug, did you have another thought? No? Okay.
Nope, just my witty repartee, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions about I didn't send out a base inventory, although I could probably dig one up if you wanted to. Is there any questions about what we keep in the bases or on that topic? Richard? Yeah.
Well, I was kind of waiting to get around to this. I was helped Terry. I volunteered and helped Terry, and a bunch of us helped her refill the bases with medical supplies several months ago. And it was great because I was able to see all the bases and actually the insides of the containers, which is really great. And something that came up was that at one point I said, "Can I do the combination? How does this lock work?" You know, because I felt like, well, what if I'm the first one there? So I was wondering what the protocol is for that, and should we all know how to operate those locks in case whoever, you know, if it's just one person, what if they don't show up? Or
I thought Terry gave us the code at the time when we went on the.
He did, and I've forgotten it, and I didn't write it down. So
I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't know where.
Yeah. So anyway, is that something that should be in our pack?
Yes, that has been our policy, and I think it's our policy is still in effect as far as I know. That all of us on the active list, we're all background checked. We should all have the 1 3-letter code that is in the that opens those combination locks.
And some familiarity with how to use the lock.
Yes,
a little bit.
Yes, if you and they all work the same way as well. For me, it's like school locker. 40 years ago, you keep going to the right a long ways, and then you go to the number, and then you have to go all the way around at least once, and then to the second one, and then you go back right to the first one. Which, of course, this is all backwards the way you're looking at it. Anyway, you start by spinning to the right a lot, and then end up on the first letter. So they work that standard way. So we'll have to think about how to securely get that to everybody who's on the active list, which might be everybody here, but we'll figure out a way. Plus, we're recording this, so I'm not going to say it, but we'll get that out to you.
While we're on that, just one thing I noticed, and this is maybe a discussion for another time, maybe with the leadership, is that it kind of struck us all at the time that shelving was needed that would be fastened securely so that it wouldn't be a total mess if there was an earthquake when we got there. And it seems like that's certainly something, you know, that came up when we were all seeing them all. Is that something that's an issue that's on hold, or?
I think we ought to get that on the list.
Yeah. It's tricky to how to fasten those the shelves to the metal walls and everything, and some of us had some ideas about it, but it seems like it's pretty important, and just to make sure those places are organized, you know.
Yeah,
they weren't all at all.
Right. Okay.
Does a member of the base committee want to address that in this meeting, or no?
I would love to.
Okay, Tabitha, and then John Ames.
Yeah, I was on the base committee that was helping to homogenize everything that was in the bases. The idea was to be able to go into any base and know where to go for what. So all of the things were going to be, you know, all of the inventory was going to be the same in every base, and all of the shelving was going to be, you know, on the back left corner or whatnot.
Right.
We made good strides to getting that, but we're not quite there yet. We still have to, we still need to go back and re-inventory what is in all of those bases so that we can then, you know, continue the push towards homogenization and getting everything up to date.
And labeled.
Yeah, and labeled.
Well, this was probably before you guys worked on it. I don't mean to be critical about it, but I just, you know, thought I'd bring the subject up anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's a good question. I heard it answered. It's in progress, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, John. Johnny.
Yeah, for your cert pack, do you still distribute these little pecan cards, the laminated cards? I'm trying to get it on my camera here, but if you put that on full screen, you can all read it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there you go. And that's a nice thing to have in your pocket when you're out out on an expedition or an incident trying to communicate on the radio. It helps that.
Yeah,
and it's a little laminated card.
Right, and I think we were giving these out of basic training. I don't know if everybody just is.
I don't remember that.
No one. You all right? Put that on the list. Yeah, pecan's good. Okay. Any other comments while I quickly review the agenda and see what I'm forgetting? Is there do people want more official cert packs? Like we have the big green pack, and I think we charge for those. If I remember buying one. Is there a big interest in getting those? Do people feel like they have their own packs and they're good? Doug is thumbs up. All right. Tabitha. Well, other than the Doug and Tabitha household. Okay. Well, okay. So some interest.
Does thumbs up mean we are all set with our own pack, or we want? I mean, thumbs up to me is I have a pack that I'm happy with. Okay.
I see. That's a good. Well, you're tried. I did.
I don't know what the cert pack would be like, so I don't know if I would want it.
Okay.
There were still a few of them in the storehouse 3 months ago.
Yeah, I think we still have a few at the station, so
we were limited by
Jeffrey's got
what kind of bag Terry would get because she insisted they be blue to match our blue style sheet or whatever. So right. There's not many out there for sale that are blue. So because the Cert color nationally is green. So all these companies that make Cert supplies that say Cert on them make them in green. They don't make them in blue. So there's so I just went and got one that was green, and I just didn't care if I didn't match because I liked the bag. Right. But that was problematic because she just couldn't find any that were blue except for like one place or something. So anyway, that's an issue, a color issue.
Paul, in answer to your question, I think it would be great to find a bag that the current blue bag doesn't have a waist strap or a chest strap. It's really not a very ergonomically sound pack to carry around for a long time. So if we could find good bags that really serve the purpose with multiple pockets and like I say, the waistband, maybe a hydration section or something, that would be terrific, and I'd be willing to pay. But just to find another generic bag isn't that helpful.
Okay, good. That's a good point. Harold?
I found that I accumulated pretty much everything on this suggested list. And when I tried to put it into a pack about the size of a Cert pack, it didn't fit. So remember when we had the, it was at Camp Lit Gala, Scott Rayburn was talking about his pack and what he had into it and the suggested style of the pack. I went on Amazon and I got a front loader pack, which was larger. And I was able to get all of this stuff in there, but now it's so heavy I can't carry it. So that's another issue.
Okay. John? Frank?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I know those green Cert pack, I think they're minimal size for all the stuff that we're talking about carrying. I know I picked up one. I think you can probably see it here. And I've got all the first aid supplies in that black bag. Got my name and Ashland Cert on the top. It's got a handle on the top. It's got, straps for your back. And it's probably got twice the capacity as the green Cert bags you're talking about.
Okay. Thank you. Tabitha.
It would be really cool to provide new Cert bags to the new Cert volunteers, the people who go through the training, so that they don't have to figure out, what should be in this bag when there's already at least some of the stuff and then the list in the bag so they can fill in the more expensive items. Also, it would be nice to have vests that fit women. The vest that I have is for this size of a guy with this size hips. And those vests have nice pockets in them, but they're always falling off of my shoulders and the shoulders of other women, like Barb, apparently.
And me.
See?
Yeah, but they don't fit men either.
Fair enough.
Okay. We could go for a vest upgrade. That's good.
Or we find a tailor, maybe.
Next is Barb.
Back to the bags. I don't think you can say the green Cert bags are thus and so, because there are many, many places that make bags that say Cert on them, many emergency supply companies online that make these bags, and they're all different. And so I looked and looked and looked until I found one that was big and had a lot of pockets and was the best one I could find for me. It's not, I think, taking Doug's comment into account, I don't think any of them are probably made for real, like if you're talking about hour after hour, day after day of carrying these packs, I don't think any of them are made for that, like with the waistband, a buckle and all that. I'm not sure that that's the point. But everything else about this bag, I'm really happy with. It's big. It opens, like Harold said, I found the only bag I could find that says Cert all over it is green, not blue, and it opens, has a big zipper that goes around 3 sides that opens the back of it so you can actually get inside without digging through everything else that's on the top. So I think some of those bags are great and some of them probably aren't great, but I don't think there's only one type of Cert bag.
Point of order. I, in the interest of time, I think we should probably try to keep this short. I propose that we exchange specific recommendations on gear, maybe to after the meeting. Those who want to stay on could perhaps do so. Is that acceptable?
Sure. All right. So that's actually a good point, because it's time to get back to Chris and get an update, and also give a Leadership Council progress report. So, John, do you have something briefly to add?
Yeah, just something very briefly. You motivated me to go out in the car and get my Cert pack. I'll put it in front of the camera to show you. You see all those green flagging tape on it? This thing has so many pouches, and I don't go in it except every 2 or 3 years when there's an emergency. So I've written on the flagging tape what's in the different pockets and pouches. That helps me a lot.
Good idea.
Okay. And Barb, did you have anything to add real quick? Take that as a thank you. Okay. Chris, do you have any updates for us from fire and staffing and or anything?
The only one I can throw out there right now that's any different than what you've mostly probably all already heard is that the position that we're hiring, called the Fire and Life Safety Specialist, is in its still last steps before it goes out to the public as a posting on the city's website. It did get a qualification added to it as a result of input from the Firefighters Association, and that was that it be an EMT certified position. Previously, it was supposed to be a firefighter as well as doing Cert and fire inspections and another weed abatement. But it had not been an EMT, and now it is very likely to be an EMT as well, which kind of makes sense. If you're going to be a firefighter here and be able to jump over into emergency response mode when needed, then being an EMT is a pretty good addition to that, because everyone else here, except me and a couple of others, are EMTs or paramedics. Most all are paramedics. So that does make sense. So it should be, I'm hoping, within a week to 2 weeks, hitting the street, which will be very cool to have it out there. Probably about a month out for applications, and then we'll do a selection process, which will involve some Cert members to help do the selection.
Great, thank you. I can give you a quick update on the Leadership Council, some of whom are here. We had our initial meeting and agreed on the name that is the Leadership Council and our process, and that we're doing strategic planning to develop a specific guide roadmap for where Cert is and where we want it to go and how we want to get there. Right now we're online jointly writing up our mission statement and values, and our SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we know where we stand. And we are meeting again on December 1st to, and observation of that meeting is available on request, and notes are to be posted. I think we haven't actually posted the notes, but we will do that. And if anyone has any questions about that, let me know. So that's a quick update on the Leadership Council. We are getting it together on the big plan for how Cert moves forward and grows and thrives, along with our new staff position when that comes around. I've got one other item on the agenda, which is what do we want to do for December? Traditionally, we have a dinner, and someone totals up, or Terry totals up the number of hours that everyone has volunteered. I don't have that information, and and what I might suggest, but I'd basically like other people to chime in, is do we want to have some sort of a social, even online thing? If it was up to me, we'd all do it in virtual reality. So good thing it's not up to me. But what do you guys feel like doing, if anything, in December as an extra Cert activity? Any suggestions? Everyone is stunned by this. Go ahead, Doug.
Sorry, I hit the wrong space bar to open up the microphone. I like the social idea, even if it's only just meeting at a watering hole. There's no reason to that we can't have sort of informally improve our own relations, and I'm sure that'll benefit Cert feedback to it. So if it has to be unofficial, either way.
Nice, thanks.
I would prefer in person as opposed to virtual.
Yes.
Yeah, just we could even add in for the fully vaccinated only, please.
Okay. Any other suggestions, or anybody have a venue idea?
Scout.
Huh?
Scout.
Out?
Scout, where Sesame Asian Kitchen used to be.
Oh, right. I see. Okay, great.
Standing Stone also has a large indoor space with a high ceiling that would be COVID safer.
Okay.
I will say, yes, depending on the kind of water, that would necessitate informality, not a fully sanctioned city event. So Scout, other places with adult water would have to be informal, not an official Cert function, which is fine, and probably in the end more productive anyway.
Chris, is it okay to use the Cert Mattermost to advertise such thing, as long as we do say informal?
That is not the city's website or email. Have at it.
Thank you.
Yes. John, did you want to say something? John Frank?
Yeah, in other organizations that I've been with, they'll have an annual fundraiser, which in our case would be for Ashland Fire and Rescue. If Chris was to identify an item that we would want to raise funds to help them with, I right now couldn't give you any ideas about that, but I know with the police department that I used to work with, they had a fundraiser to get a canine program started. So that kind of an operation, it just seems like the sort of thing is citizens of Ashland, we ought to be helping them with.
I don't think that as this organization we're allowed to raise money. Terry was pretty clear on there being a dividing line here, that we don't get to ask for money from places. We don't get to solicit. Chris would know or could find out, but
yeah, I think what John just mentioned is that a little bit different if you were raising money for a cause, like something in the fire department, which could be maybe like donated through a nonprofit that the fire union maintains. It'd be easier to do it that way. If you stick with the canine theme, hey, a Dalmatian fire station, I don't know.
I think it's also kind of mixing purposes. If the purpose of the meeting is for the CERT members to get together and socialize, that's one purpose. A fundraiser is something totally different. So I think that's like a separate thing, in my opinion.
In the interest of time, how about we keep this general? Paul's question was, what would we like to do? Let's throw out ideas and indicate interest in each one. And then we can table that. We can take that to the leadership meeting in 2 weeks, to which all are invited to participate, to observe. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure what kind of options we are. We get the general thing like social gathering, yes. Unofficial, probably. We can use Mattermost Ashland Certers to organize it, or email, etc. And we don't know when, but we'll have to figure that that's not something we can chat about in the next 90 seconds. So at least we have a interest in that. So I think that's great.
We could abide by the KISS rule. Since we haven't had a whole lot of time to plan this is kind of last minute. Why don't we just gather someplace informally at a local watering hole, enjoy each other's company, and save the rest of the time to planning things that really matter more.
Okay, sounds good. Great. That's all I got. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And I see a few faces that are I won't say new. None of us have new faces, but we're not always able to make all these meetings. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. We'll put this out as a little video. Oh yeah, I want to remind you that the City of Ashland, Oregon website, our YouTube channel, has our training videos from last time, triage, review, and mobilization. Those are separate training videos you can look at any time and have the latest information that we have. So thank you so much for coming. And just go to YouTube and search for City of Ashland Or. And I can also put that in the chat real quick here.
Thank you, Paul, for motivating to get this all together and your leadership. Much appreciated.
All right. Thank you, everybody.